Some bits of news. Mitt Romney, allegedly Republican, more like self, has offered a critical assessment of the federal government's readiness for the coronavirus, describing it as not a great moment in American leadership. Romney mostly kept his criticisms on a broad scale, but avoided attacking President Trump directly, though he took a few swipes at the president's management style during an event with Georgetown University students via a video chat on Tuesday. And he said the speed of our response looked slow compared to other people. That first phase will not stand out as a great moment in American leadership. And he said, referring to the onset of the coronavirus outbreak, and adding, we didn't look real strong, and that's kind of an understatement. Fine. I agree with that, most if not all of that. But why always blame the current government? This country has been ran in crisis mode for over 100 years, and nobody has done anything to actually fix it, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. Nothing works. And what the people can see now, or should be, if they're not walking around like zombies, is this country is a failed experiment on all levels. Education's collapsed, banking's collapsed, the government has collapsed, the military rendered not fit for purpose, agencies all failed. None have a plan or a clue how to fix things, and it's a shameful waste of people's life force energy that we call money, watching them scrabble round like a Muppet show. It's beyond embarrassing. Surely we have people in this country that can stand up and look after the country and its people. That may well be Trump, as it turns out. But where's the rest of them? All playing Rothschilds and Black Sun games. So is that harsh? No, it's not. Look around you. I speak in truth and facts. This country is in a mess, and it needs fresh thinking, ideas, and a real enforceable solutions to be provided, not in a gentle manner, because it's gone too far, but a radical manner, because it's that bad. 4 weeks now, they've been getting out the stimulus checks. 4 weeks to post a letter or to transfer to a bank. And about less than 5% of the people have had it, despite the rubbish they're talking about. Over 50% have had it. No, they haven't. More lies. And as for Romney, he's a latter-day Kushner, financial business snake oil salesman. He would be better focusing on the rampant corruption and pedophilia operating out of the church in the middle of his state, in my opinion. Where are we next? Iowa. Holly time. Is warning furloughed workers that they will lose their unemployment benefits if they refuse to return to work when their employer calls them back. And the governor, Kim Reynolds, is moving to partially open 77 of the state's 99 counties on Friday, and relaxing restrictions that were intended to stop the spread of the coronavirus. Now, restaurants, some bars, malls, fitness centres and retail stores are expected to open their doors, providing their businesses haven't closed down or gone Chapter 11, for the first time in several weeks. And the Iowa Workforce Development said Monday that failing to return to work out of fear of catching the virus will be considered a voluntary quit, which disqualifies workers from receiving unemployment benefits. How do these people get jobs? And why do the people tolerate them? That's out and out fascism. Sorry, but it is. But I wonder if Ms. or Mrs. Reynolds has relapsed, given she was an alcoholic with statements like that. Like I said, that's pure fascism. You will not be allowed to go to the workplace and not be allowed to go back to the workplace when we tell you. And people can't see that is fascism. As for Reynolds, she was twice charged with driving under the influence of alcohol, first in 1999 and again in 2000. And the 2000 case was originally charged as a second offence OWI, but eventually reduced to a first offence OWI, and she was sentenced to pay a $1,500 fine and serve 12 months of informal probation. A related open container charge was dropped entirely, indeed. The FDIC is making a push, it says, to get some 14.1 million American bank accounts so they can get the stimulus checks faster. They'd soon find a way to find the so-called 14.1 million bank accounts if they were claiming back people's taxes, would they not? Or back taxes. The federal government is sending very small amounts of stimulus checks to millions of Americans as the country weathers the pandemic's economic fallout. But for some, it says those checks will be delayed because they are unbanked, meaning they don't have bank accounts. What happens to checks in the mail? This is what I'm telling you, how, if you can't see now, how government and the operations surrounding the government, which is not necessarily all blamable on Trump, is just not working anymore. Because if you can't get out a load of transfers to bank accounts or write checks within a month, then heads should roll, in my opinion. Now, the IRS, for their part, has said it has paid out, quote, $157.9 billion. That'll be a no. And 88 million stimulus checks. That'll be a no also. A massive no. And they said they've sent out just over half of all the money due to be sent out. Do you know 1 in 2 Americans who have had the stimulus check? No, me either. But probably out near 1 in 20,000. And they said most of it has been deposited electronically into people's bank accounts using account information that the agency has on file for taxpayers. Bad liars. The public can't see it through it now. We're in big trouble. Because they'll just carry on spinning the lies until the public call them out. 157 billion. More like about 80 maximum. Which is roughly about 20%. The coronavirus seismic hit on the US economy is rattling people's finances. No surprise. Who's going to pay that back? To the people. It's not the people's fault, is it? And roughly 41% of working age adults say their families have experienced a job loss and a decrease in work hours or other employment related declines in income in recent weeks. Now, underscoring the jump in financial distress around the country, more than 4 in 10 of Americans whose work was affected by the pandemic said they weren't able to pay the rent, mortgage or utility bills, skipped medical care, or were at risk of going hungry. And they take 4 weeks and send out less than 20%, or ballpark 20% in 4 weeks. At that rate, it will be 20 weeks. That's assuming they have the money to begin with, which they don't. And the findings are based on an internet survey of more than 9,000 adults between March 25th and April 10th. And also they've left out the last 2 weeks was a whole heap worse after that. And the time frame suggests Americans' financial problems are even more widespread now, given the millions of workers have lost their jobs since that time. And other signs the pandemic is having a severe impact, according to the Urban Institute, a centrist think tank. 31% of survey responders reported their families cut spending on food. 28% were forced to use savings or take on credit card debt to pay their bills, and 69% of those whose family incomes were below the poverty level were unable to pay for their housing, were food insecure, or were unable to seek medical care. And a month later, nothing has changed. It's not going to either. Last news item, fact checker. We're going to have some fun and expose time again. And amongst the plethora of fact-checking rhetoric and pulling up post after post after post, which is a sign of us winning, I might add, that they have to use that amount of resources to stop the flow of the information is a sign of winning. But the latest statement was about a doctor from Montana, and they said that she provided no proof that deaths were all being attributed to the COVID-19 to inflate figures and fear. Well, here is a message to the Nazi-based fact checker and their one-sided globalist opinions. Your lots have provided no proof whatsoever of one single death due to coronavirus on national TV. Not one. You've made statements, but no proof. Tens of thousands dead, you claim, and yet have not provided a single shred of evidence backing that claim up. These same people have been found guilty of making New York hospitals look like it's overstretched and at breaking point when it was actually a scene from Italy. And another scene they used was from a movie. Just lies after lies. So don't be talking about us in the alt media about proof when you people provide zero evidence, when many in the alt media actually do provide the evidence of such. Now, that particular jackass report was done by Ryan Cooper, who worked for the bastion of lies and distortion for 22 years, known as Clinton News Network, or CNN. And my advice to Mr. Cooper is do us a favour and not only shut your pie hole, but get a real job. Financial issues going on not only in America, but Russia as well. And Mr. Putin said they will need more than 1 trillion rubles, which is $13.44 billion, of additional borrowing this year to cover the shortfall in non-oil and gas revenues. Now, the finance minister, Anton Siluanov was stating this last Saturday when speaking on a state television program, and the minister also said that 2 trillion rubles are expected to be directed from Russia's National Wealth Fund, interesting, to cover shortfalls in revenues that do come from the oil and gas sector. And we're back to the stimulus checks again. Oh, we'll ignore that one. Given we mentioned this last week about in relation to the immigration bill that Mr. Trump signed, and then evidence came forward of employing agricultural people from Central America mainly, without the same stipulations as the American people, then it's no surprise it's happening in the EU as well. Of reports coming out in the EU of them flying in Eastern European fruit pickers whilst the whole country is on lockdown. And some people still believe this virus is an issue. You know, are they immune? Are the people from Mexico and others that are coming across the border, are they immune? Does anyone ask these basic questions? You know, what makes one country declared to be clean and another not? Why didn't they bring people in from Shanghai and Beijing, given despite being close to the so-called epicenter of the virus, and yet they curiously remained unscathed, whilst it jumped 7,000 miles across an ocean and landed in California. But the virus didn't go down the road to Shanghai and Beijing. Or please explain why Sweden never enforced any measures, no lockdown, no silly masks, and also have very few cases of the virus. Though that fact checker will be back out to crash that again. What bothers me about this story is, because they've done this tactic before, getting people out of Syria and Lebanon and southern Turkey, is these fruit pickers may well turn out to be agency-based mercenaries coming into the country for other nefarious purposes. The US Department of Defense coincidentally released 3 classified or declassified videos of unexplained aerial phenomena over on Sunday. And the Pentagon said it wanted to clear up any misconceptions by the public on whether or not the footage that has been circulating was real. And the videos had already been leaked in 2007 and also 2017, Loop News. While the third was leaked by an organisation co-founded by former Blink-182 singer Tom DeLonge, faction-based Mr. DeLonge, along with Wilcock. And after they were first leaked, some people claimed the video showed alien unidentified flying objects. Of course it did. But it was quite a coincidence. It was one day after we published those details and the events that changed the world on Saturday. Maybe it's just a coincidence. But it's also a distraction in many ways when it goes into the media anyway. Now, in a surprising move, the CDC has suspended its collection of data for this year's flu season? Well, I never. Prompting many to wonder just why they would make such a decision. Well, we all know why. And St. Petersburg, Florida attorney Rogan O'Handley noted that during the prior 2 flu seasons, the CDC collected the data from October the 1st to May the 19th, 17 to 18, and September the 30th to May the 18th, from 18 to 2019, respectively. Noting that for some reason, they've stopped collecting the data this year on April the 4th, which is round about lockdown day. They're lying through the teeth. Final piece of news that was covered previously was and has now been admitted, is the CBS News admitted that alarming footage of an overflowing ward used during a report on the coronavirus in New York hospitals was actually shot in Italy. Of course, fact checker blocked that and said it was a lie. Are they going to correct it? Of course not. And the CBS Breakfast Show this morning used the footage of a packed ward last Wednesday, just after saying the pandemic's epicenter was found right here in New York. And the same footage had been aired earlier by Sky News, no surprise, which correctly identified it as one of Europe's most hard-hit hospitals located in Bergamo, Lombardy.